on prayer, and Al Gemilut Chasadim, on loving kindness. These are just three things we Jews say about our people. For several years, beginning during the pandemic, with Rabbi Pamela Gottfried, our House of Friends has been meeting once a week for 1 hour in Zoom House to discuss the weekly parsha, or Torah portion. In 1 year, we covered the entire first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. Originally, Rabbi Pamela conducted each session, and what satisfaction and inspiration and intellectual stimulation these sessions brought. I remember laughing about Torah, enjoying the reverences, weeping over the beauty of text or stories. After Rabbi Pamela, there was a hiatus, and then our faithful leader, Bill Witherspoon, enlisted Rabbi Dale to lead discussions once a month and to teach us to lead Torah study ourselves. An aside, you should know that CBH is an anomaly. Very few synagogues have lay people leading Torah study. Rabbi Dale taught valuable sessions in how to use Sefaria, the online Torah, and source of commentaries, ranging from commentary from the earliest centuries of the Common Era through the Middle Ages in France and Spain and more. She also introduced us to the online source, My Jewish Learning, which among other things collects contemporary rabbis' commentaries, again based on the particular week's parsha. Since Rabbi Mike's arrival, he too has graciously continued leading the discussions once a month. Other than that, as they say down here, it's just us chickens. So Tuesdays at 12 o'clock, weekly in the House of Zoom in our Hollywood squares, anywhere from 6 to 8 of us to 20 or more grapple with text. Our stalwart Bill not only serves as weekly Zoom master, but posts schedules of who is leading and humbles us into serving as weekly leaders. Around 20 different ones of us have led, read the text, perhaps summarized it, done research, perhaps related the parsha of the week to other texts, and selected lines for us to read out loud and discuss. The sessions are fun and provocative and thoughtful. We look at contemporary issues relating to the text, to the history behind the parsha, to different meanings of Hebrew words in the text, and where else these words have appeared. The lines under discussion appear on the screen, hands are raised in boxes, questions and thoughts fly. Tonight, Bill Witherspoon, Yolanda Asher, and Val Walpe have put together this Torah study Friday night service, using some 9 of us among the current attendees and leaders. Our next presenter is Torah study leader Bill Witherspoon. One last word. At the beginning of each Zoom hour, we recite or chant a blessing for the Torah study. The basic Baruch Atah Adonai, ending with La'asok Divrei Torah, meaning bless us as we, quote, engage in the study of Torah, or as we sometimes say, La'asok, as we soak in the words of Torah. At the end of the hour, we sing Debbie Friedman's Kaddish Rabbanan, which includes the memorable lines, and for those who study Torah here and everywhere, may they be blessed with all they need, and let us say, Amen. And with that, I'll say Amen.
We definitely got a lot of stuff that went through.
So yeah, we had 9, and the numbers have gone down. We told anybody who's not feeling well enough to come say that. There's a couple of people, and then the rain has probably done some duty. So we were going to have Cheryl Leslie was going to read this opening as we invite August and Val up to light candles. So if you got to come up, and then I'll read this reading. Cheryl's going to read. You can light candles. So this is on page 781 of your Siddur. Torah study. Somewhere out of time, in the mystery of time, somewhere between memory and forgetfulness. Dimly, though, I remember how I once stood at your mountain trembling amid the fire and the thunder, how I stood there out of bondage in a strange land and afraid. And you loved me, and you fed me, and I feasted on your words. And yes, I can remember how the thunder was my heart, and the fire was my soul. God, I do remember. The fire burns in me anew, and here I am once more, a witness to that timeless moment, present now in the light of your Torah. I am reborn. The candle lighting is on page 3.
So if you like the guys, and we're in the piano, you can be seated. We had such a journey to get here. I just want to say a little bit to settle into this prayer. So I've been doing this prayer for all of my Jewish life. I have a tradition of waving my hands over the candles, Satan has nodding. And it's evolved over time for me of the wings of the Shekinah. So if you see, which is the feminine presence of God, if you see a bird landing in a nest, it will do this 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4, and then fold its wings, and it will settle in its nest. So this is the image that I want to share with you as we do the blessing of lighting the candles. Once they're lit, we'll do our Shekinah thing. Leave in us. Leave in the flames. Ooh, okay, let's see. Use a match. Yeah. Wow.
Wick is in.
I think it persists. No, I did it right now. Okay, I think it's not harmful.
I think it helps to lay it down at the bottom of the.
I think it could be just. Thanks.
Deep breath, gratitude for the journey that we made to get here tonight.
So this is actually a special night for a couple of reasons, but this one here is bringing her talents to leading services here for the first time, in fact, anywhere for the first time. So there's a prayer we say when somebody does something for the first time. So.
Oh God, I got goosebumps. Thank you so much. How many people here are new to CBH, have not been here before? Welcome. It's a welcome. So we would love for us to say hello to our neighbors and to just.
But before that, you wanted to say something about angels.
Oh, well, we have angels among us here, but also around us and within us, and they are saving us from this flood, from getting soaked and everything. And I would love for us to invite the angels and welcome the angels in peace with Shalom Aleichem on page 13.
And so if you'd like to take a minute, though, as after you found page 13, to turn something we've done for years and years at Faith Operating is turn to each other, introduce yourself to anybody you don't know, and greet the ones you do know.
Maybe have a
And
Shabbat.
say Shabbat Shalom. Yeah,
Shabbat
and
Shalom.
Rabbi Mike loves Shabbat.
This microphone works. Yeah, this one might be. Yeah, it's. I don't know if it was. Yeah.
Oh, no, Okay. Well, she's up. So she's actually the person that starts.
Paging Val.
Yeah, so on page 40,
Paging Val.
on page 41, you find Lakado D. And we're going to do a version that you might have heard from the Mamalas, and it's recorded on Ariel Friedman's wonderful new album. And since we don't have any, we have this one working mic will sort of gather in this general area here, I think.
Yeah.
So people in the soloist can step up to each one. And she's the first soloist on this. But everybody join in with us. This is the tune we started off with Nigun, so you probably
Yeah.
heard it before.
Lekadoti, likrakala, ene Shabbat, Kabbalah. Lekadoti, likrakala, ene Shabbat, Kabbalah. Shalom v'zachor, v'dibor echad, Ishmiyanu Elham Yuchad. Adonai echad, Ushalo echad, L'Shem Tiferet, V'Liktila. Lechadodi, Likrat Kala, Pele Shabbat, Kabbalah. Lechadodi, Likrat Kala, Pele Shabbat, Kabbalah. Hitoreri, hitoreri,
our Shabbat psalm, and Rabbi Mike has taught us to think about things that might have been good that happened to us during the week. So if anybody has something that they're grateful for, that worked well for them this week. Steve?
My niece and grandniece have been visiting us from Oslo, Norway. They stayed with us for 8 days, and we were thrilled to have them here.
Niece and grandniece from have been visiting from Oslo, Norway, and stayed with them 8 days.
And the 12-year-old, the great niece, who was bat mitzvah. We were supposed to go to bat mitzvah, but he had back surgery, so we couldn't go. But she was one of the first female Torah from Bima in Norway.
First females to read Torah from the Bima in Norway, I think it was Zoom. Wow. Yeah.
Our younger son and his girlfriend went to Puerto Rico last weekend and came back engaged.
Paul's younger son went to Norway Puerto Rico, and came back engaged.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And anybody else? Yeah, Rebecca.
I started a new job in a great congregation.
Oh, thrilled. Oh, so thrilled to have you. Yes.
I was welcomed by a really wonderful congregation this week.
Wonderful. Welcomed by a really wonderful congregation. For Zoom, the first one was Rebecca saying she's glad to be here, which is wonderful. Glad to have her.
She got a good gig.
Started in the job.
She started the new job this week and likes the congregation. I think I heard.
So far.
So far. Anybody else?
We'll give you another week.
Okay, yes, Ryan.
We got to eat a bunch of our own homegrown tomatoes.
Yes, we have homegrown tomatoes coming in the last couple of weeks. Yes.
Two
Sue.
things. One, yesterday I taught my advocacy group about disabilities, about advocacy, and how important advocacy is and speaking up. And today, Bill and I both donated platelets to people in need.
Yeah. So Susan had a chance to speak to people about people with disabilities, right? Yesterday, and today, Susan and I, we have sort of a monthly Friday thing that we go down and donate platelets. So, yeah, so much. And Nancy.
Just to say that my husband is coming up on 7 months post-heart transplant.
Wow. Nancy's husband, 7 months post-heart transplant. Yay. Oh, yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. So.
I am blanking on the two.
That was on page 49. If you flip to page 51, you see the end of Psalm 92. And the end of Psalm 92 has these last two lines that are transliterated at the bottom of the page. Od Yenuvan Baseva Veshenim Baranim Yeyu. So this is a line about, well, it's translated on the other side. In their old age, they'll put forth seed. And this is a line about the righteous continue to bear fruit into old age. And so we're sort of going to sing something in honor of Rabbi Dale Friedman, who, as Mariana mentioned, got us believed in this enterprise and got us off going and getting us leading Torah. She wrote this. She wrote the music and the lyrics. The lyrics were her free translation of what you're seeing here. And we did this. I did this with Adina Langer for her farewell service, and it's just too pretty to lay down. So we're going to attempt to do it even a cappella, but we're going to try to sing it for you. Oh, Yenun Beseva, the Shenim Verananim Iyu.
Leogit ki yashar Adonai, leogit ki yashar Adonai,
Suri velo aflatavo, Suri velo aflatavo. May we grow fruitful as we age, ripe and abundant and sage. Keep our hearts open to all we face, present to goodness, even a trace. Renew us, let our spirits soar, sustain us, our rock for more. May we grow fruitful as we age, ripe and abundant and sage. Keep our hearts open to all we face, present to goodness, even a trace. Renew us, let our spirits soar, sustain us, our rock for more.
Yasher Koach.
Thank you, Rabbi Dale, for writing that song. And Will
And
for
Will
doing the
arranging
arrangement.
harmonies.
Too bad you can't hear the
We didn't have the
musicians.
violin and all the.
Oh, God, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, if you would please rise in body or in spirit for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 55. Yitkadash me Rabbi, Alma divrach yirutesh ve'avni kamahutei, Bechai lechor yom lechor, Uchaye lecho ben Yisrael, Agala, Agala, Umizman Karib, Leru Amen, Yehesh ve'Rabam B'Torah, Le'alamu le'Almayna, Yivarach.
about nature, because it's one of the places we think about nature during our Friday evening service. But I want to do a third thing tonight, which is actually get your help a little bit. And I don't know whether this is one thing that might help is if it were being recorded, because I was going to try to get your words and use them somewhere. So the story is that you might have noticed in the listserv that the Jewish Earth Alliance is a national group, and they're having twice a year they have lobbying, virtual lobbying with Congress. And I've been recruiting people. One of them is sitting in the front row here, who are willing to go on on Zoom with aides to our 2 Georgia senators next week. And so this, one of the fun things and one of the best things about lobbying is you get to thank the congressional representative for something. Sometimes it's very small, and that's what you agree with, but you always want to start by thanking them for something, because that's the right way to start a conversation. In this case, we have something really, really big to thank our Georgia senators for, and that is last year, as the budget reconciliation, really weird way, the reconciliation bill called the Inflation Reduction Act, and it has enormous consequences for the climate. It's a huge amount of money to go for the climate. There's a lot of environmental justice things built into it, and in fact, it's got things for you and me. And we're hoping to we've got a speaker possibly coming that will talk to our congregation about how we can individually take advantage of this in our own homes to make energy improvements and all that. But what I wanted from folks tonight is, are we recording this?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so what we want to do is to get a sort of a word from each one of you of something about nature that we're another step close to protecting from this very scary climate situation that is surrounding us right now, because we took a big step towards protection last year with this passage of this bill, and we want to thank the Congress people for it. So can you think of a word or something, maybe a very short phrase of something in nature that you're very grateful that we're going to be able to protect if we continue down this road of action on climate? So words, I guess. Probably I was going to pass a mic around, but I guess I'll just repeat them as people say. So anybody have something that you'd like to say? Something you're grateful for in nature.
It's restorative.
Say what?
It restores my soul.
Nature restores Shelley's soul. Yes.
What about balance?
Balance. Beauty.
Nature awes me.
It awes me.
Fragrance.
Fragrance. Oh, yeah.
Migrating birds.
Migrating birds.
Peace and solace.
Peace and solitude.
No, solace.
Oh, peace and
Comfort.
solace. Comfort. Okay, thank you.
Nurturing.
Nurturing.
Pollinators.
Pollinators. Wonderful. Yeah, so these words are going to go into the chat that I'm going to throw into the chat with each of these aids. And in addition, we may have some of the people on Zoom are putting in the chat. And we'll share that as part of our thank you to these aids. Yes?
Trees.
Thank you.
King country.
Yes.
How about the oceans and their abundant life?
The oceans and their abundant life. Wonderful. Okay. Anything else?
Clean water.
Clean water.
Breezy. Breezy.
Breezes.
We have
Breezy.
breeze.
Okay.
Reducing greenhouse gases.
Yeah. And that's how we get there. Margie says reducing greenhouse gases, which is the key. Yeah.
A complete ozone layer.
Yeah, complete ozone layer. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, thank you. We will use those. And the next thing, if Rabbit got my email and emailed it, did Rabbit email you back?
Let me check.
Okay. Because Rabbit was going to write a comment out for the next thing we're going to do. And I can sort of sketch the idea of it. The next thing we're going to do is on page 61, you'll find the interpretive version that Rami Shapiro wrote of Bhagavan. And Rabbit was not feeling well and was going to just do it right over Zoom, but somehow we can't do it. Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I haven't. It's on my email, so I sent it. Like, do you want me to show you on my?
If you got it, yeah, if you would. Yeah, I'll just read it off your phone.
Great.
Yes, Rabbit is, so Rabbit started, and I hope she is on Zoom right now also, but she has been a sort of backbone of whenever I have not been able to be present and run the Zoom, she did it, and that was for 5 weeks one time. So she has been very faithfully keeping things going so we could do things every week. And so this is what Rabbit wrote. In discussing the Kavanah for the interpretive version of Olam, Bill suggested me to look at it like Torah study, where the traditional version is the text, and the interpretive is a midrash, magnifying the text. Full disclosure, I actually prefer the traditional, mostly because of the tune, which is one of my favorites. But the neat thing about Judaism, particularly Reconstructionist Judaism, is that we are constantly reviewing and revising and expanding our understanding of the text. As one version of the prayer for Torah study says, as you heard earlier in the services, turn it and turn it and turn it again. So let's do that. The traditional is structured pretty directly. God loves us unconditionally. We return God's love through attention to the laws, Torah, and mitzvot. Think of those as God's love language, kind of. But these are not conditions of love. Again, God loves us unendingly, eternally, unconditionally. The interpretive version, though, considers, what if we have a hard time feeling this love? What if we are not in a place to even want to return it? Because what if we don't believe in it right now? What if the text, instead of showing us God's love, shows us an uglier, more alienating picture? The interpretive version stresses that we are specifically loved unendingly, even when we are not perfect, even when we fall, are weak, are broken. One might say, but what of the love language part? If the laws, the Torah, the mitzvot leave us cold, if we can't meet that, are then unable to reciprocate? The interpretive version suggests that we are ourselves as a community enough for all the laws, the mitzvot, the Torah, the arms, the fingers, the voices. As a community, we are the instruments of God's love, and recursively as individuals. As we go from Avat Olam through the Shema and the Ahavta, think about the recursion of this unending, eternal, whole world love, that the love we receive from others and ourselves is the love we receive from God, above and beyond the text. And that the love we show to others and ourselves in the same way, the love we show to God. And now we have a demonstration of this in the form of, she says, lovely music from Bill and Yolanda. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful, Rabbit.
Thank you, Rabbit.
Thank you, Rabbit.
Yes, thank you.
That's just, I knew I wanted Rabbit to do that because there's so many times that something really profound comes out of Rabbit in these discussions. Okay, so we're going to sing this that I understand from Will that Rebecca Goldsmith introduced to Beit HaVarim as a tune to this piece that Rami Shapiro put in our siddur. Yeah.
It's Shir Me'ira's
Okay.
version, but
Okay.
different.
Yeah, we did not ever sing this before.
Yeah,
You
that's
came
right.
to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Okay.
We love it.
Okay. So, yeah.
We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love.
We are loved, loved, loved
hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love.
We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting.
We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love.
And so you'll find the Shema on page 65. And we're going to have Joe Chansey lead this. Joe has been participating in nearly every Torah study. And Joe, when Ryan and I first came to CBH, Joe was one of the lay leaders who led very, very often. And so I knew he would be a good person to lead the Shema. But he looked at the weather and driving from where he lives, he didn't think that was a good idea. I hope he's there on Zoom too. But, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol levacha v'kol nafshecha v'kol be'odecha ve'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher Anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinata levavecha ve'imar v'shitaka v'techa uv'leftaka v'aderet uv'shofaka uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha ve'hayu totecho ve'minecha uv'tacham al mizot beitecha uv'isharecha.
Now we find the Mi Kamoha on page 79. Mi Kamoha v'elim Adonai, Mi Kamoha never kodesh nor tehillah, Osei Felech, Osei Felech. Yad Lamai, Yad
page 80, you'll find the Hashkivenu. I'm going to read the English. We're going to read together. I invite you to read together with me the Hashkivenu, which Anne Schley was going to read, and she was one of the ones that was not feeling well and didn't come in. Anne has also been doing a lot of leading of our Torah study, and often has some pretty strong opinions about I think the way the Torah has been used by some people to justify kind of aggressive behavior in Israel. And she's lived in Israel a number of years and gone there year after year. Very interesting, long story. Help us to lie down, dear one, our God, in peace, and let us rise again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us the shelter of peace. Decree for us worthy daily lot, and redeem us for the sake of your great name, and enfold us in the wings of your protection, for you are our redeeming guardian. Truly a sovereign, gracious, and compassionate God are you. Guard our going forth each day for life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, compassionate one, who spread your canopy of peace over all your people in Israel and over Jerusalem and the entire world. So, Rabbi Zev, who also has many times led our Torah study, he is a rabbi who was actually a student of famous renewal Rabbi Zalman Shechter Shalomi, and he lived. He was lay. He was before CBH hired its first rabbi. He was its kind of early rabbinical inspiration, one of the first straight members at CBH, and then he moved to California. But Vishamru on page 85, you know what I'm leading up to. When I first got there, this shocks everybody who walks in the door at CBH. The first time is that we add this little hoot to Vishamru. And when I first heard it, I asked around, where did that come from? And Robert Gross told me about Rabbi Zev, that had brought this in and said, we need to, even though this is a legal contract, essentially, we're really excited about it, and we're going to make this hoot. And so, fast forward to the pandemic, and Rabbi Zev pops up on Zoom and in our services, and also in Rabbi Pamela Gottfried's Torah study. Very, very big contributor to Torah study. And it turns out that he has also written, he's translated and with commentary. Whenever he leads, he pulls out his own translation with commentary that has footnotes and references, and it has the very literal meaning of the words first, and then the way he would like to interpret it, and some footnotes. And so my hope was to put a little piece of his up on the screen where we could all see what he did. On the very last line in Vishamru, which is Uvayom Hashvi'i Shabbat Vayinapash, which has always fascinated me because I suspected there was something more going on there. You may know that in a lot of languages, the word for spirit and for breath and for wind are all the same word. And this is true in Hebrew. And nefesh is one of the words in Hebrew that means both spirit and breath. And so our Siddur here says, on the seventh day God ceased and drew a breath of rest. Well, that's kind of pretty and poetic and all that. But when I looked at Rabbi Zev's translation and commentary, he says essentially that God inspirited the world. In other words, on Shabbat, God breathed spirit into the world. The seventh day, in the first 6 days, the material world existed, but it didn't have spirit in it. And on the seventh day, God breathed the spirit into the world. And so that's what we celebrate on Shabbat, is the inspiriting of the world. And I just thought, well, that's worth thinking about. So we're gonna. Rabbi Seb, I hope you're on Zoom with us, and just really appreciate he wasn't able to come tonight, but we're just so excited about all you brought to Torah study. So, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asod et Hashabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asod et Hashabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. B'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael odi le'olam, odi le'olam, odi le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asod et Hashabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asanai, asanai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asod et Hashabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinapash, Shabbat vayinapash, Shabbat vayinapash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asod et Hashabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam.
I thought that was supposed to be a standing song.
Oh, the next time we'll stand.
Not always.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We were standing in spirit.
Actually, the next thing is going to be standing. So we're going to, on page 91, we're going to start the silent Amidah. And so if anybody would rise for the Amidah, and you can face east, we do in this direction. And so you can follow the prayers in the Amidah, or follow the prayers in your heart. And when you're ready, when you're finished, I think we go through page 107. So when you reach page 107, or whenever you're ready, you can sit down and know you're finished with your prayers. Adonai sebatati open my lips, beloved one, and let my mouth declare your praise.
Shalom, everyone. So I'm Val Wolpe. This is my first time doing Torah. I turned it, as we do in our study group, and I turned it into a pretzel maybe. So maybe you can help me unravel some of it. So this is the Parsha this week of Devarim. And Devarim is the first reading in the book of Deuteronomy. So we've left Leviticus and we're in Deuteronomy now. And in the triennial cycle of the reading, we're basically reading chapter 1 to chapter 3, verse 22. So we're not reading the whole thing. So I'm not going to comment on the whole thing. So Deuteronomy is called the Mishnah Torah, or the second Torah, as it is a repetition and a renewal of the covenant formed at Sinai in Exodus 20. The Parsha recounts how Moses appoints the chiefs, the episode of the 12 spies, encounters of the Edomites and the Ammonites, and the conquest of Shihon and Og. It's not really stimulating reading until you start to turn it a little bit. Devarim is translated as both words and things. So that's the first curious element in this Parsha. So Ella, on the 21st day of July, in the year 2023, I'm getting up before you, my community, to offer you a few words about a few of my favorite things about the opening of the 3 chapters of Devarim. So Deuteronomy is often referred to as Moses' farewell address to the people. He knows he will not cross the river Jordan with the people and possess the land that God promised them. Poor Moses. Doesn't he deserve to cross over after all that he has done for the people? Moses is slipping away from us. At 120 years of age in this address, he is not the Moses we've come to know so well and respect, if not love. Through all the other books of Torah, Moses struggles with his own temperament, his speech, with leading the people out of Egypt, with guiding them through 40 years of desert wandering. Throughout all of it, he is transparent and flawed human man. That is, until we get to Devarim, something changes. Moses changes. Moses, as the man we've known, becomes distant. Moses, this man of slow speech and insecure, stumbling words, climbs up a mountain. This is Mount Paran, I think, and addresses the people from a height, and he looks down on the people. He is no longer our beloved and flawed Moses, the one God speaks to and who speaks to God. Our Moses, who transmitted God's fundamental principles of spiritual community by etching them in stone, putting them into writing, is poised in Devarim to, above all things, speak. And boy and howdy, I learned that phrase last week. It's from Florida, I think. Does he speak? And daber, and speak, and daber. And his first discourse stretches from chapter 1, verse 6, to chapter 4, verse 40, without a bathroom break. He dabers all the way through to Deuteronomy 32:45. Is this the Moses that we know? What happened to Moses? Not only that, Moses speaks directly to the people as if he and God are one. In many verses, it is difficult to discern if the I speaking is Moses or God. Who is speaking? I feel Moses is being used as a mouthpiece. I don't like this Moses. He's distant, he's cold, he's a puppet, if you will, and he's not being used by God. I have no sense of God's presence in all of this, all of these words, but I do sense another presence. I'm referring to the Deuteronomists who combined and edited versions of Torah. Some biblical scholars suggest that the core of Deuteronomy was composed in Jerusalem in the 7th century BCE during the reunited monarchic reign of King Josiah. This was a time of great religious reform. A lot of the kings had idols still in their castles, I guess, in their kingdoms. This would explain some of the variations that we do find in these verses. Revisionism, if you will, of the retelling of events that happen. And we touched on this in our last Torah study group. Rabbi Zeb brought this up. So of course I have to look at it. So what characterizes the Deuteronomists, there is basically four periods and four editors. I can't get into it because Bill said I only have 10 minutes, which is a whole lot, but I'm trying to make it shorter. So the distinguishing characteristics of the Deuteronomists, these guys who were edited, is that they have speech recalling God's work, which we find in this parsha, a moralistic approach, which we find in this parsha, and long sermons, which we definitely find in this parsha. So back to the revisionism in Devarim and Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 37. Moses blames the people this way. He actually says to them, because of you, Adonai was incensed with me too, saying, you shall not enter it either. You cannot go into the land and possess it. Now, this is not actually true. This is pure revisionism. What actually happened, as recorded in Numbers, is that the people were complaining of thirst. They've been wandering around for almost 30 years in the Midbar, you can imagine. They're thirsty. And the two leaders, Moses and his brother, take the complaint to God, and God instructs Moses and Aaron to assemble the people at the waters of Meribah Kadesh and speak to the rock, and water would come forth. But that's not what Moses does. Does anyone recall what he does?
He strikes the rock.
Strikes it.
Not once, but twice, which he had done before apparently, but I, again, don't have enough time. So he does, and he speaks angrily too. Listen, you rebels, must you bring water out of the rock? And he hits the rock. The divine instruction from God was not to do that. God still brings forth the water. However, he immediately rebukes Moses and Aaron, and he tells them that because of this action, that they will not lech lecha, they will not go up to the promised land. That is the truth in Numbers 20, but in this version, it's been changed. So I don't like that. I don't feel I have access to this Moses. So, and what is actually Moses saying? What are his devarim? In summary, you were bad. You were very, very bad. You did not have faith. You chose fear over fealty. You built false idols. You could have spent 2 years in the desert. Instead, you spent 40 years because you couldn't get your act together. And because of this, the original generation, the wicked generation, had to die out in the desert before the innocent children could go over and possess the land. It's basically a message of, you messed up, you messed up, you messed up. So Moses' devarim are an historical counting, a summary of and a patchwork composition of the times and all the places where Israel spiritually failed God. You're in the plains over against Suf, between Paran, Tafel, Laban, all places of failure. It is a mosaic, if you will, a mosaic of events held together by a curious grout. I do mosaics on occasion, and I cut glass and tile from different sources, and I glue them down on a surface to make a design. The design only becomes a coherent and comprehensible visual composition when the grout is applied. It's basically a cement in between and all around the glued on pieces. So what is the grout that is holding this composition of devarim together? Rebuke. Rebuke. Admonishment. Moses and God have a long history of rebuking. The most frequent phrase in the Torah is, Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. And God spoke, or dabered, to Moses, saying, Amor, which uses both of these words together. But daber is a word that has a meaning of a harsher tone to it. It is a word of, it speaks of rebuke, while amar speaks of a softer tone and of love. So how does Moses rebuke God? In Exodus 32, I'll quote you just one, let not the Egyptians say, this is Moses telling God, that it was with evil intent that he delivered them, only to kill them off in the mountains and annihilate them from the face of the earth. God, turn your blazing anger and renounce the plan to punish your people. That's a deber, that's a rebuke, a clear rebuke. And there are many, 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 many examples of this. Yeah. It's that kind of tone. So I'm going to close with my remarks, starting with telling you that I was rebuked once in this manner, about 35 years ago, by my brother-in-law, who's also a rabbi. So he's trained in the art of rebuking. And I don't remember the content of it, but I remember that I spoke with jadedness or maybe some bitterness about something. And all he said to me was, I'm not used to you talking with jadedness or bitterness. And I felt, he said it privately, and I felt ashamed, but not disempowered. That stayed with me, this rebuke, in the way that it was offered to me, for all of 4 decades? No, maybe, yeah, it could be 4 decades now. And I remember the lesson of that rebuke. So it's not a mistake that we read this parsha on the last Shabbat, which is Shabbat Zahora tonight, before Tisha B'Av, when we recall the Second Temple's destruction. We are in the month of Av now. Each generation is ethically responsible for intervening and for rebuking a wrongdoer. In Israel today, thousands are democratically protesting on the streets to fight changes to the Supreme Court structure that would gut its authority. Rebuke is the grout that holds the covenant between Israel and God together, as much as we don't like it, as much as it's nasty, as much as it's not really Moses speaking here, it's some editor that we don't know. The rebuking between Moses and God strengthens their trust and love for one another. They hold each other accountable for spiritual development. Over the centuries, the rabbis, the sages, have woven commentary and teachings about the prophetic art of rebuking. And rebuking now is central to Jewish ethical thinking, and it's greatly emphasized here in the Parsha of Devarim. So it's a huge body of work, how to rebuke, when to rebuke, in what circumstance. You can imagine all the rabbis are weighing in on this, and there's commentary, lots of commentary. But I'm going to just summarize what I feel is the best practice of rebuke if you want to try to engage in this in your own life. I'm going to give you a one-product jingle from the Brill hair cream and one Yiddish word. So this is dating myself, but the jingle for the Brill, you remember it? What?
A little bit.
A little dab will do you. So what I say to you is a little deber will do you. A little deber, not what Moses does. And the second repetition. And the Yiddish word is genig. Enough. Usually, okay. Now these rebukes come with a little explanation mark, right? Forcefulness. Genig. Genig. I mean, you speak this word with force to rebuke a gossiper or those who are attempting to breach a societal covenant between a people and their Supreme Court. You can say to them, genig. As it says in Proverbs 24:25, to them that rebuke shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them.
So we're going to say a prayer for healing. You'll find Debbie Friedman's Misha Bera on the inside cover of many of these celebrations. And so what we're going to do is sing the first part of it, and then I'm going to read the names from the Misha Bera list, and then I'm going to invite people to add names across the room. And I guess, Abby, can you read ones from the chat? How do we do the ones that are
Sure,
in the chat?
yeah.
If people put stuff in the chat, you read those? Okay, good. And then we'll finish with the second part of Debbie Friedman. So, Misha Bera. Tracy Stern Cox, Richard Adler, Richard Cohen, Jenny Williams Cohen, Sharon Miller, Rosalie Levy, Pepe Lurie, Nadia Brown, Mona Lisa Schultz, Linda Staples, Amy Kraft, Naomi Stauber, Carla Caraballo, Sarah Griscom, Margie Osheroff, Tatia Bat Yehudit, Jeannie Heinsohn, Nancy Gerber, Scott Gerber, Billy Knopf, Ann Schley, Peter Bauer, Leslie Bauer, Malcolm Estroff, Steve Summers, Alan Brendel, Sharon Kuttner, Janet Hardin, Susan Finelli, Betty Presswood, Abby Drew, Shelley Collier, Jay Rosen, Diane Dexter, Don Tarter, Hayden Namco, Fran Shahar, Jessica Brown, Yishka Tatya, Teresa Barnett, Newsom, Hakohen Van Esther, David Freeman, Sonny Caldwell, Benjamin Gittleson, Terry Pahachik, Elaine Harris, Marjorie Adler, Anna Levy Sprick, John Isbister, Gertrude Bronstein, Elizabeth Cohen, Ruth Canfer, Melissa Cutler, Jerry Kegel, and Shoshana Mitzner. Anybody have names you'd like to add?
Jerry Lowry.
All those healing from losses.
All those healing from losses.
Richard Isaacson and Connie Douglas.
Richard Isaacson and Connie Tucker.
Douglas.
Jane Goldsman.
Schechter, Alan Reed.
Say those again.
Jane, Lauren, Henry,
More in the chat.
yeah, Sheila,
Roseanne Glick, Beth Bird, Jen Pryweller, Jim Halpern, Julie Udovin, Scott Gerber, Alex Brown, Ellen Walrath, Ellie Seagraves, Jean Waters, Michael Stoddard, Arthur Palmer, Martin, Richard, Hillary, Ronnie, Roseanne, Mark, Rhonda, Patty.
And Paul Gluckstein's brother.
Paul Glidstein's brother, Michael,
Andy Siegel.
Zev,
Grab what I said. Misha Bera.
Spirit.
to the prayer for the end of hiding. And it was this prayer that clinched my desire to become a member of CBH. You know, as an LGBTQ Jew, you know, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. But I also love how it acknowledges Jews in general and that had to hide their identities for fear of persecution or annihilation. So join me. It's either on the back or on your Siddur. Yes. As LGBTQ Jews, we are aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to pressures of larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves to ourselves and others. The LGBTQ individuals who feel they must pretend to be something that they are not. The Jews who feel they must be alienated from their tradition and community to win larger acceptance. Both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender-identifying, or religious majority. Creator of the universe, we ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expression as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. Amen. And now you'll find Elena on page 121 and then continue on 123 and 125. Bill? I didn't catch it.
Philip Brunel.
Philip Brunel.
And Hortigita.
Sandy Schwartz.
Sandy Schwartz.
Lois Birch.
Lois Birch.
Mads DeShazo.
Mads DeShazo.
Estelle Burnell.
Still Burnham.
And Tony Bennett.
And Tony Bennett. Stanisława Dussel. Monday will be the 16th yard side of my mother's passing.
Paul Percy, Marshall Bloom.
These are names we recited in the union at night. Sherman Holmes.
Herbert Diamond, Jane Diamond's father. Our beloved dog Kramer.
Robert Fanuel, who was on the with us.
Robert Fanuel.
Okay. I think, or at least, yeah, I think that's all. Yikadash,
Rabba, Belma, Dibra, Hibate, Belamim, Mahute, Bechaye, Kon, Yome, Kon, Haye, Dehom, Beis Israel, Ma'angala, Bisman, Karim, Beimru, Amen. Yehe, Shmei, Rabba, Mebarak, Le'alem, Le'e, Alaya, Yitbarak, Yishtabak, Yika'ar, Yikramam, Yikaseh, Yitadar, Yitalem, Yitalal, Shmei, Dekudisha, Rivu. Le'ela min kol birchata shirata, tishbekata menechamata, da'iran yama imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba mi shamaya, v'chaim aleinu yekol Yisrael, imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'murma, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu yekol Yisrael, yekol Yisrael tevel, imru, amen.
But we have someone for announcements.
I can do them.
Yay!
Yeah. Great, yeah. There's a lot going on. Hello, everyone. Normally it's a CBH board member or someone else, but thank you to these awesome lay leaders, Val Root Wolpe and Yolanda Asher for really being here with us, despite all of the sound, the cameras and everything, and for all the folks helping out with this flash flood. And thanks tonight to Officer on Duty, Corey Wright. Feel free to thank him. Make sure to, say hi, keeping us safe, crossing the street as well as storm-ish. To the facilities staff on duty, Rashid, really coming in here to sweep up a lot of things as well and setting up the room. And yeah, thank you to this week's ONEC sponsor, Sunrise at Buckhead. You'll find their information on the ONEC table. If you'd like to learn more about their services, they have a pamphlet on the ONEC table. All right, we have 2 pages worth of announcements. So let's buckle in. All right. Join us for one more of these great events coming up. Get ready for some thrilling action at Piedmont Park this Sunday. The legendary Ben Gaze are gearing up for a game at 1 p.m. EST. And they want you to join their ranks or cheer them on from the sidelines. Don't miss out on the chance to witness the excitement firsthand and support our amazing team. And again, you don't have to be a member to join or participate, so feel free to come out. They've been having an awesome time. Hey, tour enthusiasts! If you love tonight's service, we have a special treat for you every Tuesday at noon. Grab your lunch and join us online for our popular lunchtime Torah study session. Dive into the depths of Jewish wisdom, engage in lively discussions, and explore the timeless teachings of the Torah. The next CBH board meeting is scheduled Tuesday, July 25th at 5 p.m. Your input matters, so feel free to join us. So that is next Tuesday. Those are always fun and they're open. Come together to absorb Tisha B'Av on Wednesday, July 26th at 7:30 p.m. Join us at CBH or connect via Zoom for this solemn gathering led by Rabbi Mike. So that's this Wednesday at 7 p.m. I will also, 7:30 p.m. and I'll also be here. Got something on your mind? Meet Rabbi Mike for drop-in office hours at Spiller Park Coffee this Thursday from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. He's ready to listen. So if you don't know, Spiller Park is in Toco Hills. It's right next to, there's a Kroger there and a bunch of, there's a Publix as well. So feel free to drop in. It's a beautiful time with great Americanos.
Yes.
Right. Calling all culinary enthusiasts. Don't miss our Shabbat service and community potluck next Friday, July 28th at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. So usually services start at 7:30, but we'll start earlier to have a service and then we'll have a potluck afterwards. And we've had I think this is our third one now, and Terry, who's our own idea, has been beautiful, organizing it, being on here, just having all the food around and just really beautifully coming together. So shout out to Terry Egdahl. And next we have on Friday, August 4th, join us for a special Shabbat service filled with musical delights as we welcome our new music director right now, Rebecca Goldsmith. It's going to be an unforgettable evening. We anticipate reaching capacity for this service, so please sign up online to reserve your seat. So if you don't know how to sign up online, let me know. You need to have a Shul Cloud account. Make sure that you are registered. It's on the calendar because we will have to, fill up this room and make sure we have an accurate head count. And again, those details on all of these events are on the CBH website. So moving on to a few notes. These are not events, but a few new things happening in our community. Our wonderful Hesed Care team has now a form to request services. See the Engage tab on the website. We are also having a CBH Community School T-shirt design contest open to all ages. See your vet mail, that's your weekly CBH newsletter, for more information. And the deadline to submit artwork is August 13th. And I know they would love former CBHCS or former CBH Community School graduates to apply. Indulge in the sweetness of giving back. Support CBH by purchasing honey from the heart. You can find the link to buy on our website or in your vet mail. Every jar purchased gives back to CBH. And I believe it's August 20th, you can get free shipping if you want to involve in that. If you're interested in helping out before services, during or after, please email Marcy so you can be on our team. We need greeters, ushers, and security. So drop Marcy Alt an email at marcy1964alt@gmail.com. And also filling in for Marcy, who also does the announcements a lot. So thank you, Marcy, for this opportunity. We're always looking for Omex sponsors. Please contact Terry Egdahl right here in the house as well. We have amazing folks in the house for more information on how you can sponsor. And if you missed all of this right now, you can also check our vet mail that goes out Thursday weekly in case this was a mouthful for you to remember. All right, and yeah, thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
She's got competition.
I know. I'll let that's Marcy's lane. I'll just step in for tonight. Yeah.
So in the Torah study on next Tuesday, that will be Rabbi Mike leading our Torah study. I might have mentioned that, and also next time Rabbi Zeb leads. I twisted his arm, and he came up with August the 29th. He will be leading Kitavo. So and join us anytime in between. So
Awesome.
Oseh Shalom B'Roma, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru, Amen. Hey! So this Kiddush prayer is on page 119, and usually we don't have our Siddurim still with us. But if you'll be very careful not to get the grape juice on it, you can actually see the this prayer while we're singing it. Will help people with it. And I need one
Here we are. I know we didn't do it outside tonight.
Oh, you don't want to go outside tonight?
Right?
Did any more water seep in?
No, luckily not.
Yes, but Abby, it says in the service order we're doing this out of the back porch, so I don't know what happened.
I love the meeting board.
Sorry,
Such a wonderful job.
us, so I hope you'll come back.
I hope so. I need to come back a little more often.
Good.
As you